want to say pleased to be here today. I want to thank all of you in the Federation of Small Businesses for the role that you are playing in holding the government to account, not least on forcing the retreat last month. For now, at least, they have to drop their 22% increase in the national insurance rate for the self-employed. So thank you very much, well done on that. I think it was a bit of a collective effort, quite honestly. You are respected on all sides of politics because you speak with the authority of your members, the sole traders, the entrepreneurs and the small businesses, and you are, over 40 years, very effective at what you do because you reflect the views of your members. You're really like the very best trade unions. When you say something, people listen, and if they don't, well, just ask the Chancellor of the Exchequer if you say something and people don't listen. Labour does not believe that extra tax burdens should be falling on low and middle income workers, whether self-employed or directly employed. We also believe that if we're to restore faith in politics, then politicians have to stick by their word. That means not breaking a clear manifesto pledge the Conservatives made that they would not increase national insurance. The government decision to push a £2 billion tax rise on low and middle earning self-employed broke that pledge. They hoped no one would notice. Well, we noticed, you noticed, and there's been the change so far. What we've also noticed is that whilst most of us have had to swallow 7 years of austerity, some are being given handouts on an utterly extraordinary scale. George Osborne and now Philip Hammond have given the term welfare state a whole new meaning. Welfare, actually, for the very wealthiest. The Tories have cut the corporation tax rate for the biggest companies from 28% to 17% by 2020. Over 6 years, from 2016 to 2022, the total giveaway, revenue lost to the public purse, will be £63.8 billion, according to the government's own figures. And let's be clear, all of that giveaway will go to the biggest companies. Remember, the corporation tax rate for small companies in 2010 was already, under the previous Labour government, set at 21%. That means by 2020, big companies would have had an 11 percentage point decrease in corporation tax, while the rate for small companies would have only been cut by 4 percentage points. And the differential between big and small companies will have been eliminated completely when both on 17%. So there's clearly been a bias here in the approach that the government has taken. A bias actually against small businesses. A bias that was evident in the attempt to increase national insurance for the self-employed. A bias that holds back hard-working people who want to make a living independently. A bias against entrepreneurs who want to start and build new businesses, creating jobs, innovating and helping to make our whole country richer. Not for the very rich few, but for the many, for all of us. Labour will have a very different bias. Yesterday, we reaffirmed our commitment to a real living wage. Low pay and in-work poverty don't just hurt those directly affected. They mean more public money going on in-work benefits instead of investing in our future, and they mean fewer parents going into your businesses. We know that some of you will struggle to pay your staff more. That's why we've promised additional support for your businesses and are looking at expanding and reforming the employment allowance. We will support those striving to make a living through self-employment and small business, not just because it's the right and fair thing to do, but because millions of jobs and the future of this country depends on it. Labour's business team, our Shadow Business Secretary, Rebecca Long-Bailey, and our Shadow Minister for Small Businesses, Bill Esterston, have been working very hard on this. They and the Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell, tell me how important their relationship is with you, how valued your voice and insights are. So I want to share with you today the approach that will guide our relationship and then explain how I see it working in practice. Firstly, Labour believes in fair taxation, so our policies will follow two cast-iron pledges forged in our values. Any tax rises will fall most heavily on those with the broadest shoulders and will be something for something deep. When we ask for more contributions, we'll be clear what you're getting in return. Secondly, we want to level the playing field, ensure that no one is being held back due to unfair advantages of the economically and politically powerful, using their entrenched positions to hold back the enterprise of others. And finally, we will give you the best platform to succeed, with world-leading infrastructure, digital transport and energy, as well as better access to growth capital, whether it is through loans or equity. Let me look at those points in a bit more detail. When I say that any tax rises will fall on the broadest shoulders, I want to make it clear today that we will not raise the small business corporation tax rate. What we cannot accept, however, is that it is right or necessary for big companies to be given a 40% cut in their corporation tax rate at a time when others are suffering austerity and the budget deficit remains out of control. This country, Britain, has the lowest corporation tax of any of the G7 countries, now by quite some distance. So corporation tax for bigger companies will move closer to the levels of other major economies. It will be a something for something deal. We will use the extra revenue to invest in skills. Employers are telling us that they need a more skilled workforce and that they struggle to recruit, which is hardly surprising when in the last 7 years the further education budget has been cut by 1/7, or when the adult skills budget has been cut in half. And last year, as student maintenance grants were abolished, university applications fell. We, all of us, need a highly skilled workforce and a state that can retrain and reskill people as the economy evolves. That's why Labour has set out a vision for a national education service from early years right the way through to lifelong learning. Because we know that education matters, whether it's high-quality universal childcare that allows you the time and space to start and develop your business, or whether it's the chance to retrain later in life. Opportunity needs to be there for everyone. And today, too many people and too many businesses are being held back by the lack of investment in training. Which leads me to the second element of our approach, a level playing field. What people running small businesses tell me is that they are fed up with there being one rule for them and another for big business. Whether it's tax avoidance, late payment to suppliers, or business rates, giant companies seem to be privileged and sometimes a law unto themselves. No one likes paying tax. We don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh, I must really pay some more tax today. Nobody does that. But most of us know that taxes are essential to a civilised society and a successful economy. Business needs skilled workers and good infrastructure. People who run businesses also have families who need health and caring services that their taxes help to fund. So most of us play by the rules. We do our tax returns, as you know. Mine seems to attract the more attention than most these days, but that's okay. Transparency is important, and I want the HMRC to know I gave them another donation. But some people don't play by the rules. They use all sorts of elaborate ruses, like shell companies or tax havens or offshore trusts, to sidestep the rules. My local independent coffee shop can't spend thousands on accountants to avoid paying tax that a big chain of coffee shops can and does. And small businesses can't make sweetheart deals with the tax authorities like Google or Vodafone seemingly manage to do. So when we say we will clamp down hard on tax avoidance and legislate to close loopholes, that's not anti-business, it's anti-cheating. So we will give HMRC more powers and more resources. And I can announce today that we'll save them one onerous burden, and I hope it's one that you'll approve of too. In last week's budget, the Chancellor bowed to pressure by delaying the implementation of the quarterly reporting for small businesses by 1 year. That's not good enough. Labour is against small businesses having to report quarterly. It's a burden, a distraction, and will hold entrepreneurs back. Labour will scrap quarterly reporting for small businesses with a turnover of less than $83,000 a year to help you focus on growing your business, which is what you're there for in the first place. And we will tackle another problem that I know is a burning issue and long overdue for attention. Small businesses are owed £26 billion in late payments. Cash is king for any business, and big companies are managing their cash by borrowing interest-free from their suppliers. Some of the biggest names in business are holding huge cash piles that don't actually belong to them. And I'm going to name some names based on reports of a reputable credit agency. Marks & Spencer's, 72 days over terms. E.ON, the German energy provider, currently pays 78 days over terms. Capita, a major player in the public sector, pays 82 days over terms. Vodafone, 84 days over terms. BT Group, 89 days. National Grid, a whopping 119 days. I could go on. I'm sure you could all give me other examples. But note this is over terms, and the terms they impose could be 45 days or 60 days to start with. So we're talking about big companies paying their suppliers, in some cases 6 months or more, after they've done the work or delivered the goods. It is, frankly, a national scandal. And it's not just late payments. There was also the case of Premier Foods charging companies to be on their supplier list, and of John Lewis demanding a rebate from suppliers when their products sold well, a kind of penalty for success. It's a sort of perverse incentive here. And I gather from what you've told me, there are many instances of big companies refusing to pay an invoice in full and then saying, sue me, as if small businesses have the time and money to fight legal battles against the commercial giants. We will look at all of this because late payment and other practices I've mentioned are stopping businesses from growing and causing thousands to go bust every year. Late payment kills jobs and holds back economic growth. Bill Esterson has been doggedly pursuing this issue in Parliament, and I'm keen that we work with you to tackle the issue. There are different options to assess. Government, through procurement, can ensure that anyone bidding for a contract pays its own suppliers within 30 days, using the power of public procurement. It's normal now to ask for accounts and credit checks, so this would involve no extra paperwork. For the private sector, we've been looking at the Australian system that involves binding arbitration and fines for persistent late payers. It needs to be a system with teeth, a system that delivers a fair deal for small suppliers, and we want to work with you to get this right. No small business owner should have to go begging to the banks or even remortgaging their homes just because a customer considers themselves too big and too important to pay on time. But let me send a clear message to the captains of industry today. A Labour government will declare war on late payments. Alongside that, Labour will introduce a radical reform of business rates. The government's piecemeal concessions fall far short of what's needed. And so, in consultation with business, Labour set out 5 points that will guide our policies in government. There will be no cliff edge increases in rates, and a fair and transparent appeals process. We'll bring forward CPI indexation so that businesses aren't paying more because of how inflation is measured. We will exclude new investment in plant and machinery from future business rates valuation. We want to encourage, not discourage, business investment. We will introduce more regular valuations to stop businesses facing periodic and unmanageable hikes, as I'm told every day by businesses in my own community. Also, we need fundamental reform of the business rate system to ease the burden of traditional high streets and town centres and in the age of online shopping, and to create a fairer system of business taxation. I'm very sad when you see high streets declining because of this. There's something we can do about it. And that brings me to the third theme of our approach to small businesses, namely investment. Britain's infrastructure is quite honestly second rate and falling even further behind other major economies. And frankly, this government has an abysmal record. They've failed to modernise the economy, whether it's in broadband, energy, transport or housing. And at the same time, they've not done enough to finance growth in the small business sector. That's why Labour is committed to establishing a national investment bank with regional investment banks for every region of England. This year, the Welsh Government is creating a development bank for Wales. Its purpose will be to create and safeguard over 5,500 jobs a year by 2022 by providing more than £1 billion of investment support to Welsh business over that period. This has not come out of the blue. Labour in Wales has nearly 2 decades of experience working with the FSB and other business organisations. It's taken on board your feedback about the forerunner to the Development Bank, Finance Wales. And our business team at Westminster will take a keen interest in the launch of the Development Bank for Wales and the work it does to generate growth and jobs, so we can use the experience and the difficulties they may face when we move into government. The Prime Minister regularly accuses me of wanting to bankrupt Britain by borrowing money to fund investment. But as every business knows, there's a world of difference between borrowing for capital spending and borrowing to fund the payroll and day-to-day trading or service delivery. The risk of bankruptcy comes not when you borrow to invest in projects that will deliver growth, but when you give unfair tax breaks to big companies and the wealthy when you have a big deficit and not enough money to run public services. Labour's vision is of a richer Britain, a Britain in which hard-working people are not held back. Britain has more than 5 million small and medium-sized businesses, employing more than 15 million people. 60% of the private sector workforce is in small businesses. Labour is committed to creating an environment in which you can grow through fair taxation, tough action to level the playing field, including on late payment, and through investment in skills and infrastructure. The only thing we ask of you as part of this deal is social responsibility in the way you operate, fairness in employment, attention to health and safety safeguards for the environment, high service and product standards for your customers. The economy under the Conservatives is being held back by low investment, low skills, low productivity and low wages. They believe the way for Britain to succeed is to win the race to the bottom, to become a tax dodger's paradise, content with rising poverty, falling social mobility and the next generation worse off than the last. It's gone too far. A productive economy requires government to have a partnership with business, building the platform for you to succeed while guaranteeing fairness for all. This is a virtuous circle. Good investment by government, good practice by business, good public services, funded by a productive economy with fair taxation. Your businesses suffer when public services are in crisis, when people have to take time off to care for ill or elderly relatives, because social care is in crisis, when people are in too much pain to work but still waiting for an operation, when our schools and colleges aren't delivering enough skilled workers. I've set out Labour's 3 principles: fair taxation, a level playing field and investment. And I want to add one final principle: to listen and engage with people like you are the experts in the area. I think we need more experts, not fewer, informing our policy and policies. I start by saying that I saw the FSB as a trade union, standing up for your members. The party I lead, the Labour Party, as the name suggests, a party of workers, but also the party of cooperatives, entrepreneurs, or owner-managers who work hard in their businesses. And that's why it's been a privilege to address you today, and I look forward to your questions and discussion, and I look forward to working with all of you as the months go on in developing the details of our policies, and I thank you very much for all the help and support you've given us so far. Thank you very much.